So, yeah, I see that they have moved the Roadrunner Coyote balloon much closer to us now, which is nice.
Yep.
Did you ever send down for a soda, by the way?
I didn't. I need to do that, I guess.
Well, if you do, I'd like one as well.
All righty. So they have now told the pilots that the field is open for landings. While we were doing launches off the field, we asked that pilots don't come back and land on the field. But the rest of the balloons that are on the field now are going to stay static and will not be launching, although I guess somebody could change their mind. But they are now doing a static display because we've passed the 9 o'clock hour. But that means the field is open for balloons to come back and land on the field.
Although there's only, half a dozen balloons that are, well, maybe more as I look over here to the left, to the west.
But, there is direction up there because all of a sudden a balloon that was over here is over there, and then it's back again.
Okay.
So there is some direction.
It's not like a competition day, though, when the pilots are flying to the field already, and after they throw at the target, then they land here on the field. But I get your point.
Yeah, now it's kind of
it is a nice, big, open green area, and it's very slow on the surface. It's virtually dead calm now. So it would be easy. You could land on the field, even though it's a somewhat congested area with all the spectators still here. And you could easily land on the field and do so very safely.
And it's always bragging rights when you can land where you took off.
Oh yeah.
That's
that's when you're a hotshot pilot.
That's it. Top of the game when you can make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just a nice, easy, kind of lazy way to wrap up Balloon Fiesta number 50.
Yep. I'll go off on a slight tangent, tell an old balloon story. When I had my first balloon Yellow Rose, was flying out in California.
You're going to tip off our feed guys again and get them on?
No. But yeah, we did a really nice flight from a launch site, favorite launch site we had out there called the Van Vleck Ranch. It was a ranch owned by the Van Vleck family, and a lot of us that flew out of the Sacramento area would go out there in the foothills and fly. And so one day we were able to fly a box. I landed right back where I had taken off from, and it happened to be, it was the 1 year birthday of my balloon Yellow Rose. So one of my crew, Mary Ann Layer, had baked a great cake, and we were going to have this big party and everything. And it was really special that I had landed, I'd done the box. I'd been a hot shot pilot and landed right back where I took off from. We're packing up the balloon, and we talked about earlier this week, Art, you recall we were talking about parachutes and the centering lines and how some have pulley systems and whatnot.
Yes.
So we've streamered the balloon out. I'm down at the basket end undoing the cables. No, I'm sorry, I was up at the top of the balloon. One of my crew was down at the basket disassembling the cables and whatnot and pulling the top in, and all of a sudden I hear this rip.
Uh-oh.
And the pulley had caught on something and on a piece of fabric and tore one big panel. And the balloon was 1 year old.
Yeah.
It was its birthday. We had flown a box. I'd landed right back where I took off from, and that was the first time I had ever damaged that balloon. Had never burned it, never tore it, never punctured it. And on its first birthday, we ripped the panel in the most really nonchalant way, just packing up and recentering the parachute top and the pulley snagged on the fabric. So
I love flying a balloon with the pulley on the parachute top, but I do get nervous packing up because it's very easy to get that pulley caught up in the fabric.
Right.
Even on inflation, because if you've left it down, you haven't pulled the top back up for whatever reason.
Pull the top out to tab it in.
Yep, you can be pulling it back the other way.
Absolutely. Yeah. So
you can.
So there, Terry Long. We're talking about balloons. Are you happy now? I hope.
There's the putty cat on our screen, and I mentioned Karen Converse in the pink and black vertical stripes. Penumbra, the name of that balloon. You see Jay Mason has his Realty One balloon, a Realty One of New Mexico balloon, the teal one with the white diamonds and the orange stripes. Also, he was representing one of the original 13 on our tribute flight a week and a day, 2 days ago.
Larry Stevens says that they're having a Pegasus. You remember Pegasus,
Yeah.
one of the special shapes
Yeah.
here. Says a Pegasus dry out party is planned for the Battle Creek, Michigan arena this coming week. Thanks, Albuquerque.
All right.
So, Fiesta continues, even if not right here at Balloon Fiesta Park, perhaps.
Someone on our YouTube feed here is saying, is this the first time we've had a blimp here at Balloon Fiesta? Technically, it's a thermal airship in the shape of a blimp. But no, it's not the first time. There actually had a kind of an airship as well in the shape of the yellow submarine that used to fly around.
Oh, yeah.
We've had others, the similar type of aircraft here in the past as well.
Yeah. Yellow Submarine was here one year when we were still announcing from that scaffold you and I referred so much behind the stage.
Been a long time.
And we had a Beatles tribute band playing on the stage. And that night, I think every official that was an official that could get on that scaffolding was up there, including a couple of the Russian team that brought the Yellow Submarine balloon here, because that was a home-built balloon, if you remember, and they were all dancing up on that tower. And I've never seen a scaffold rock and roll and shake and jive as much as it did that night. That was a fun night here at Balloon Fiesta. We were all dancing to Beatles music and celebrating the Yellow Submarine with the Russian pilots that were here. Christine Schrader says, I've added that song, Wildflower, we're talking about, to my music list, a classic that I forgot about. Enjoy your interesting conversations and information. It does enhance the experience and relevant information. Well, thank you.
You bet. You know, if you're not happy with our commentary on the feed, you can always turn the volume down and just watch the pictures.
Well, that's true. Yeah. Or you can come out and apply to be the commentators and maybe take our jobs. Who knows?
There you go. So, people are on the YouTube side here saying they don't want this to end. Neither do we, and I think neither do our pilots, and neither do the thousands of spectators that are out here today. It is the way we all like to remember Balloon Fiesta and enjoy Balloon Fiesta. We are again on the last day of the 2022 Balloon Fiesta number 50, and we certainly wish this had been the kind of weather we had all week. But hey, we're starting and ending the Fiesta with it, and so we'll all have great memories.
That's right.
As we move on to number 51 in 2023.
That's right.
A View from Above, the theme, starts on October
the
7th.
Yes. And I'm sure that as exhausted as all of us are, and believe me, we are, I'm sure that given the opportunity, I would certainly stay another 9 days and do this all over again if we had the opportunity.
So there we go. So Balloon Fiesta moves from 9 days to
18.
18
There
days.
you go, yeah.
Well, let's just take over the entire month of October.
Well, let's just do it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Why
sure.
not?
That's Neil Jackson's Flying Circus balloon we're seeing on the screen. He was the one that I kept waiting for to come in on competition the other day. He was way off to our west, to our left, and is he going to get here? And he obviously didn't. But now that we see him on the screen, we can talk about him.
Yes, because that's what we're here to do, is talk about balloons.
Okay.
All right, I promise I'll stop. But we're just having fun. But yeah, it's.
So put it on your calendar, number 51 for October 7th. make plans to join us. Know that RV space reservations, if you're looking to bring your RV here, those open up in early January. So not very far
quick.
from now.
Yeah. Yeah, and even pilot applications, typically you guys open those, in about March, I'm thinking.
Actually, we're starting to move them up earlier because of the amount of work that we're having to do in verifying documents and those types of things.
Right.
So sometime in February or March is when pilot applications will go live.
All right.
Navigator or volunteer applications are basically available year-round. Tickets go on sale in April, 6 months before. So they go on in April. Merchandise for the next year starts coming out in the May time frame. Typically, our calendar is out in early July, as is our new poster. That will be out in the July time frame. A lot more merchandise starts showing up in actually as early as May, June, July, etc. And while we have a theme of View from Above, I don't believe we've selected a poster design yet, but we heard from Clegg Cawson last weekend
that we're going to continue with the Looney Tunes theme.
That they are ready to do that as we move forward with that.
That's great.
So we'll continue a great relationship with those Looney Tune characters, which also are now on the names of all of our parking lots, our public parking lots here at Balloon Fiesta.
Well, and I know that even though a lot of the merchandise comes out early, the design work on that starts even earlier. Because obviously you shared with me the design of our announcer pins early in the year, and I was at the BFA's National Convention in April up in Topeka, Kansas. Paul Smith and Sam Parks were both there, and I had a moment to chat with them, and I said, well, I guess I'm coming back to announce the 50th because I see the announcer pin's out and my name's on it.
Yep.
So
no contract, but you're on the pin.
Yeah,
So
didn't have a contract yet, but I was on the pin, so I took that as a good sign.
It's amazing how we find out things sometimes.
It is, isn't it? Hey,
Look at that zebra hat.
We talked about all week how the zebras enhance what were just black and white referee shirts that Sid Cutter started putting them in 1973 for the World Championship, the first World Championship. And now those costumes, some of them are quite extravagant, and that certainly fits into that ballpark. There's the thermal airship we were talking about. And I was just going to say, if you look way high to the right there, Art, to our east, there is Cameron Wall in Grandma's Legacy, well up into the sky to the east, over toward the Sandias. That's something else I've missed so far, this year, is the Sandias get their name because every day just at sunset, there's just a few minutes when they take on this beautiful pink glow, like the meat of a watermelon. And of course, Sandia, that's the name, that's the Native American word for watermelon, from which the mountains draw their name. And I haven't been able to, we haven't seen that this year because the skies every afternoon have been cloudy and gray.
Yes, we have definitely missed that. That said, New Mexico, as is a lot of the Southwest, still in a very drought condition.
Yeah.
So the couple of inches of rain, even though it seemed like it fell only right here at
Balloon Fiesta Park.
Because we definitely did not get that much rain at my house, which is probably 5 miles away from here.
Okay.
So definitely need all the moisture we can get. Just didn't really need it this past week. But
yeah, and not all right here at Balloon Fiesta Park.
It is what it is, and we worked through it with great support from communities, agencies, etc., to help us get balloons dried out. Some obviously are taking them home and drying them out. I think a few of our shapes that set up today wanted to get a little more dry.
Yeah, I think so.
And, get it dry enough that you can actually put some heat in it without damaging it. So the ability to kind of stand it up and do that was a great way to end this. Here comes the
airship.
The airship going to come over and visit us.
Going to come say hello.
So they have taken a number of different people. I'm not sure how you get a ride in that thermal airship, but they have taken a number of different people. A number of my staff colleagues are there. Maybe we should send Ruth up there.
Yeah, how come we didn't get Ruth a ride in the airship?
Yeah, we're wondering, Ruth, if you want to go take a ride in the airship. It would be your first time today.
Say what?
Well, we're just wondering about. We were talking about all these other things, and that could be a fun shot and a fun little deal. They are taking folks for. I'm sorry. So I know, like we were talking about, that they're flying different folks around. Some of my colleagues on the staff and some other folks have had an opportunity to kind of take just a little cruise around the.
We have a special guest here
hi!
on the tower.
Hello.
We have been joined by my dear friend from the Republic of Ireland, Pauline Baker, and she and Malcolm White are here flying Hearts of Fire this week at Balloon Fiesta. But first of all, welcome back. It's good to have you this side of the pond.
Yeah.
We've
the last time I met you, Glenn, you were over in the Isle of Wight.
That's right. That was that was earlier this summer, as a matter of fact. Yeah, back in May. Funny how we seem to meet each other in all these different corners of the world. Of course, the first time we actually met was here at Balloon Fiesta. Pauline is a multiple world record holding pilot and operates a balloon ride business in Ireland. And oh gosh, one of the places they launch from is Trim Castle. I was fortunate to be over there in 2019, and I spent the day with Pauline and Malcolm. They toured me all around their flying zone, and
Nice.
went to a pub, and we just had a great time. They gave me a nice little book about Irish castles. So, we've gone through a couple of years of the pandemic where international travel wasn't possible. So what's it like to be back at Fiesta?
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah, we were watching the live stream last year. We were just glued to it. We obviously weren't able to travel, so it was nice to see the live stream, but it's great to be here in person now.
So we haven't got to fly a lot this year, but I did see the Balloon Hearts of Fire flying a couple of times at least. What kind of flying have you been able to do this week?
Well, we had some beautiful flights out over the Rio Grande, which were fantastic. That's my favorite place to be flying.
Yeah?
We washed the basket a few times in there, so we did our splash and dash. It wasn't a splash and dunk, it was an actual dash, so we got back out of the Rio Grande fairly quick.
Yeah. So the Irish National Championships, you and I had talked about, we had a plan in place in 2020 for me to go from Longleat over to Ireland and be at the National Championships. That didn't come together because of the pandemic. I think they held the championships again this year, is that right?
That's correct. We had it ran last week, so it clashed with Albuquerque for us. We attended the first couple of days, and then we had to leg it over here, to be here for the registration. So, it was very successful. We had about 40 balloons compared to 650. There's a big difference.
And another thing that I know you and Malcolm do, you don't ship a balloon over here like some of the pilots do. Generally, you're able to connect with a local and borrow a balloon to fly?
That's correct. We're flying Hearts of Fire, and that's been given to us by Bradley and Jessica Rice, who was very kind of them. They were in Ireland for about a year and a half living there, and we were able to give them the loan of our balloons. So the ballooning community, I think, is very small in that regard. You can travel anywhere in the world, and you'll meet friends, and you can borrow their balloons or go fly with them or whatever. It's really great.
So what's the favorite moment of flying in Ireland? What should one look to do when they're there to take a balloon flight?
We fly from the Midlands, around the Boyne Valley where Trim Castle is. So there's lots to see, the Hill of Tara, a lot of history in Ireland, as you know, a lot of castles. So we have a lovely river running through as well called the River Boyne.
Yes.
Not as big as the Rio Grande. We don't get to splash and dash in that one. But we also fly down in the Midlands where we have lakes, and we can sometimes play around in those.
And Trim Castle is, for those who don't know the castle, you probably have seen it before because it featured heavily in the movie Braveheart.
That's correct.
When that was filmed, a lot of what was supposed to be a castle in Scotland was in fact Trim Castle in Ireland.
Yeah.
And you guys actually are allowed to fly off the castle grounds. That must be spectacular.
Yeah, we're really lucky. We can take off from the grounds of the castle. But a lot of that filming, believe it or not, is supposed to have happened in Scotland, as you said. They actually came to Ireland early because it was so cold in Scotland. They actually came over. So we had them there for about 6 months. And they recreated the castles in Scotland off the side of Trim Castle. It was incredible to see. And I was an extra in it.
I was about to say, do I remember
a very
that
young extra.
you were an extra in the movie with, so did you have any close association with Mel Gibson as an extra, or you were just in the crowd scenes?
I was in the crowd scene, but the very last scene, I was watching those pieces coming out of his body, the guts and gory bits.
Yeah, okay.
We were up close. He went partying around Dublin and places like that.
A couple of pub crawls, I
Yeah,
could
I think
expect.
so.
Yeah. So, how long are you guys in Albuquerque? When do you head back home to Ireland?
We were planning on heading down to Gallup in the morning, but
That's
I think that's wet.
now. Yeah.
So we're heading off on Tuesday, and we're going down to see some friends in Florida, and then back to Ireland.
Not the best location planning, I might
I
add.
know. This storm is following us around.
But I had kind of the same problem when I was on my trip recently because I landed in London the day that Her Majesty passed away. And then I was up in Scotland when they were bringing Her Majesty from Scotland down to London. And then I came from Scotland back down to London on the day of the state funeral. So my vacation planning was not the best this year either.
No.
Yeah.
But you were there for a really very special occasion.
As an American, it was quite an interesting
Yeah.
time to be
Yeah.
in the UK and particularly in England. Well, thank you for coming up and saying hello. It's good to see you, and
Great
give my
to see
best
you
to
again.
Malcolm. Look forward to when we can get together again on the other side of the pond.
Okay, take care. Thanks
Super.
a million,
Thanks,
guys.
Pauline.
Thank you, Pauline. Good to see you.
So we continue to just float balloons around the sky. We have a number of them continue to stay static here on the ground. And so there's the airship that continues to just kind of float around the perimeter of the field, taking some different folks into the sky. And we just continue to just have a nice lazy wrap up to Balloon Fiesta.
It's actually a very relaxing way to bring it all to a close.
It is.
A lot of times the final Sunday morning is especially when it's a really great flying morning, it's very hectic because there's the rush to get in the air and get the flight, and then you land and you come back here to the field and there's the tailgating and everybody trying to say goodbye and then rushing off to the hotel to get everything packed and checked out by noon and on the road home and all of that. And this doesn't have that feel to it. This has just really been a nice, relaxing morning with some balloons flying. Now we've got balloons static here on the field. People just milling about,
just hanging out.
Yeah, just hanging out and having a nice day. And by golly, it's about time. It's a shame that it took us to get to the last day to enjoy this, and yet it's kind of appropriate that it's the last day, and we can just kind of hang out and have fun with everyone.
It's a great day for the last day. A little conversation over here about wheelchair baskets, and someone is answering on there that a number of people are starting to add doors to their baskets so that people can walk in.
Yep.
And so yes, there is more of that. And they said that they weren't real sure that there is a wheelchair basket out there. Well, there are a couple. In fact, there's one here this year, and that was the basket of the Kubitscheks.
Right.
The
right.
family Kubitschek, which of course
Yeah,
owns
because
the
we
Kubitschek factory.
saw Peter Kubitschek flying his father, and his father was in a wheelchair.
And strapped in.
And actually, there are baskets built with electric seats where you can take a wheelchair-bound passenger out of their wheelchair, put them into what is almost like a racing seat, an automobile racing seat that's mounted on an electric motor platform, and they can be strapped in safely, and then they can be raised up so that they have a clear view over the bolster or the sides of the basket, and then it can be lowered back down into the locked position for landing so that they're very stable when it comes time to land the balloon. And I My friend Pat Harwell, we mentioned earlier that Scott McClinton had to leave for a family emergency. The same thing with Pat and Susan Harwell. Susan's mom passed away, sadly, on Monday or Tuesday of Fiesta, and so they had to leave early. But Pat does a lot of tether ride business, and he has a basket with doors on both sides. So that way, when you're doing tethers, usually you have to passengers land. Passengers have to climb out over the side of the basket, and then the next load climbs in over the side, and then you go back up.
Well, and usually one in and
one in, one out. Yeah, so that you balance the weight.
Exactly.
Well, in this case, they can just open the doors, and one group walks out as the other group walks in. So it's a very easy transition between passenger loads for tether rides. So door baskets have become very, very popular. I think all the manufacturers offer them.
So that is definitely out there as well. Someone else was saying, I just saw a balloon with a picture of a coyote on it.
Where have you been?
Yeah. So that is a replica of one of Sid's early balloons, the Roadrunner Coyote balloon. And it's actually not a picture. That artwork is actually built into the balloon or inlaid in there.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you put a pattern on a balloon, you make the regular shaped balloon and then you take your pattern and just applique it on the outside of the balloon.
It's like almost like a patch you would jacket.
Right.
It's a piece of fabric you sew on top of a piece of the balloon fabric.
So the process of doing this, and actually it was Bert and Joni Padelt in Pennsylvania that built that part of the balloon. The rest of the balloon was built here in Albuquerque and then final assembly here. But they took the big white fabric and then of course they traced out and designed the Coyote or the Roadrunner.
There's the Coyote on our feed.
And then they started with layers of this. So they put layers on there, but then they went back and cut out the white. Black layer in there as well. Cut that out. So as you look up inside that
O Lobão foi dos primeiros artistas que a gente já está conversando aqui há muitos anos. Aqui, desde a época que tinha aquelas primeiras.
Anos 80.
Das passeatas, vem pra rua.
Não, agora.
Os movimentos.
2013.
Eu lancei minha primeira. Eu era petista, né?
He said it was more fun looking up in the balloon and
Yeah.
seeing the Coyote.
Passei de 89 até 2004, 2005, da época do mensalão. Porque é o seguinte, eu comecei com o PT, as pessoas dizem, o Lobão era esquerdista. Eu nunca fui esquerdista. Eu estava morando em Los Angeles. Quando eu cheguei aqui, desavisadamente, eu votei no Roberto Freire, que é também um episódio muito jocoso, que eu pensei que era outro Roberto Freire. Em 89, eu estava acabando o comunismo, eu não tinha menor... Pô, você viu, na época do Tancredo Neves, eu era tão alienado político que eu soube da morte do Tancredo Neves quando eu li o Planeta Diário, que tinha Dona Risoleta parte para a carreira solo.
Sim.
Aí eu falei, puxa, será?
Tempos bons.
E eu estava namorando a neta do Tancredo, e nem sabia que ela era um alienado, eu era alienado. Então, o que acontece? Eu, quando chego em 89 aqui no Brasil, estou completamente assim. Eu não ia votar no PT, porque eu acho que o PT cafonão. Desde sempre aqueles caras fazendo de javanca, né? Lula lá.
Vira o voto, vira.
Eu não ia fazer isso, nunca me submeteria a isso. Mas então, quando chegou no segundo turno, tinha que optar pelo Collor e pelo Lula. Eu optei pelo Lula porque achava que não haveria mais problema de esquerda, porque já estava falida no mundo todo. Eles tinham um baluarte da honestidade, da ética, etc. Então eu falei, bom, vamos dar um crédito, já que o país vive numa miserável corrupção, vamos tentar ver se esse partido, já que não tem mais comunismo, eles vão carregar a bandeira da honestidade. Bom, passaram-se anos, o PT, eu ajudei ao PT fiz um monte de campanha para vários parlamentares, para o Lula, em 2002.
cantar ao nosso Deus. É suave dirigir-lhe o louvor. O Senhor reconstrói Jerusalém, reúne os exilados de Israel. Ele cura os corações atribulados e enfaixa suas feridas. Conta o número das estrelas e chama cada uma pelo nome. Nosso Senhor é grande, seu poder é imenso, sua sabedoria não tem limites. O Senhor ampara os humildes, mas rebaixa os ímpios até o chão. Entoai a ação de graças ao Senhor, cantai na cítara hinos a nosso Deus. Ele cobre o céu de nuvens, prepara chuva para a terra, faz brotar sobre os montes a erva e plantas úteis ao homem, fornece alimento para o gado e para os filhotes do corvo que graçam. Não lhe apraz o vigor do cavalo.
On top of the blue fabric. And when I saw that, I said, no, I'm not going to accept that. I want to be able to see a Texas flag from the outside of the balloon or from the inside of the balloon. So I want the white star to be inlaid into the parachute top. So
imagine se o seu time de vendas fosse do tamanho desse time aqui da V4, esse time inteiro. Mas e se, depois de atingir esse tamanho inteiro, amanhã esse time de vendas ocupasse um andar inteiro como esse, repleto de vendedores? A pergunta que eu tenho para te fazer é a seguinte: você teria demanda de leads, de contatos interessados em contratar o seu serviço, comprar o seu produto, para encher a agenda de um time de vendas neste andar inteiro? Se a resposta é não sei, só para te dar uma dimensão, 170 vendedores cabem nesse andar. Eu quero te falar o seguinte: eu quero tirar essa preocupação da sua cabeça de gerar demanda para esse time de vendas, porque é isso que nós fazemos, tanto para nós, como você viu, estamos fazendo nesse andar, como para mais de 3 mil negócios pelo Brasil.
Him go out with the Rio Grande balloon, the Rio Grande Down syndrome balloon earlier today. So he has obviously landed that balloon, come back to us here on the field, and is now setting up the big Big Black Bird.
Now that has a lot of history here at Balloon Fiesta.
It does. That was one of the first commercial balloons in town for Ed Gallis Chevrolet. That was the mascot logo of Ed Gallis Chevrolet, and a number of people have owned that. And I've forgotten how many incarnations of that balloon there have been. But good to see Big Black Bird. Used to be called Smiley, if I remember correctly. So that is being inflated out there on the north. You see it on the field. It's on the very north end of the field, out there where the thermal airship was taking off and landing.
Talking about the Roadrunner Coyote balloon, Sheila Gora, I think it is, if I'm reading that correctly. It might be just Gore if I take my sunglasses off. Yeah, G-O-R-E. Says, Looney Tunes Saturday morning cartoons, a fond memory growing up in the 60s, and now I have another fun Looney Tunes memory. And that's absolutely true. As we were talking earlier this week, I grew up in the 50s, and Looney Tunes were a regular part of my childhood. I knew all those characters, Bugs and Marvin the Martian and Elmer Fudd and certainly the Roadrunner and the Coyote. I mean, those were my Saturday morning babysitters, and in a sense, was watching those cartoons, and they are so much a vivid part of my memory. And to be back out here at Fiesta, and to find that Fiesta has such a great working relationship with what is now the I think it's the Chuck Jones Creative Center, I believe, and to have Chuck's grandson up here with us. We've talked with him 2 or 3 times during the week about the relationship between Balloon Fiesta and his grandson Jones and the whole Looney Tunes gang. And so, yeah, it's you're absolutely right. It's a part of our those of us of that generation. It's absolutely a part of our childhood. All of those characters.
It is. And so we are beginning to wrap down or wind down not only the final day, but the entire.
Why do you wrap up and wind down?
I don't know.
I don't either.
Why do you drive on a parkway and park on a driveway?
I don't know.
Yeah. All those, that will be another tangent.
That's a whole other tangent. We could go on, and we could be here till tomorrow doing that, and we're not going to do that. But
it has turned out to be an absolutely gorgeous day here in Albuquerque.
It has.
Balloons have been standing up and flying now for a couple hours, and they have now told the pilots the field is closed to any launches.
Okay.
Balloons can continue to remain that are in the air can come back and land on the field, but our official flight operations basically on the field are over for 2022.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And so I just heard Henry Rosenbaum talk to the pilots that they are signing off their radio. And but again, the field is open to continue doing static. And if you wanted to land back here, you are clear to do that as well. So really a nice, just gentle way to work our way out of the 50th Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta.
So last call probably to do some shopping on Main Street. There is still a good crowd over there, I can see. The vendors, I'm sure, will probably remain open just as long as Fiesta will let them, for sure, and certainly as long as they have merchandise and you're there with money to purchase. But this would be, officially the last call to make a stroll down Main Street and pick up that favorite souvenir. If you've not had it, grab that last breakfast burrito. If you want to get one more of those before you go. Any favorites along Main Street in the way of concessions? Now would be the time to go seek those out as well.
So as we get ready to wrap up Balloon Fiesta Live, for 2022.
Yeah.
Any thoughts? Any comments that you want to put together about the week?
Well,
the 9 days, because someone is over here, by the way, saying, "Oh, it's a shame it's only a week." It's technically
it's 9 days
and 10 days.
10 days
when
this
you
year if you count
Loft.
the tribute flight that we did. No, I guess my impression of the whole 9 days really is just how memorable we all hoped the 50th would be. We've all been counting these last few years. You know, I was saying several times, I just want to, as an announcer, I just want to make it to the 50th. Let me do the 50th. Anything that happens after that will be gravy, as it were. But I think we all had such high hopes for how spectacular this 50th event was going to be,
yes,
and how memorable it would be, and it has been, but in some ways for all the wrong reasons, and yet great memories have been made here this year. Have been renewed and new friendships made, and I never regret being here I'm here for basically 2 weeks. I come in a few days early and leave a few days after. For me, it's such a privilege to have been a part of this for 33 years now, and yes, God willing, if I'm able, I certainly look forward to being back. So it's always a privilege to be a part of the event and to work with you and our great team at Windfire Productions and all the staff. It's really humbling to think that I'm able to do that every year.
Well, I appreciate those comments. Ruth Lind, who's been out in the field for every one of those days, is now up here on our rooftop studio with us as well. Ruth, what do you think about the last 9-10 days? How is this going to be in your memory?
It's going to be a very interesting experience. We had our challenges. We worked through them. We worked around them. We did the best we could to make things happen. One of my highlights of the week was getting to be over in the drone field for that flight yesterday. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that, and it was terrific. And then getting to catch up with my little buddy Payson Cusick. He is, oh my gosh, one of my favorite people of all time. But all of the people we got to talk to this week have been phenomenal. The officials have done such an amazing job of keeping this all going and not just throwing up their hands in despair. They made it work. Whatever we had going on, they made it work. And I'm so impressed with that and so thankful to be part of this group.
Well, we are definitely glad that you are part of it as well. You bring an element to the show that really brings, I mean, we sit up here and talk about what's happening here. You bring that piece that most folks don't have the ability to see when they're here. They come when they're here with their friends, and they talk among themselves, but they don't get the up close and personal stories that you've brought to us this year.
Ruth really personalizes the experience, I think, for everyone. I mean, we talk about what we can see, but you're right down there with the people, and you share their stories, and I think that makes it such a more personal experience, even for those who can't be here and can only watch us on the feed. Well done. I know how hard a job that is, and you do it you make it look effortless.
I don't see it as a hard job. I see it as a fun job. There are so many stories down here, and in my own work, in real life,
Yeah.
that's what I do is I go out and I meet with the people and I listen to their stories and bring them in, and I love the work. I love it so much. It's my favorite part of the job.
Well, we hope that you'll be with us for many more years. Hopefully, we can keep this whole team together
I'd
for
love to
a
keep
long
this
time.
team together. I think it's a team that works from all of our knowledge about ballooning, our love of ballooning, our love of people, and the fact that we all have this experience to be able to bring this. And then, of course, all the folks that join us online as well, and the ability to interact with all of you.
Great online community who are really right on top of it all the time with us, and it's fun interacting with them.
And of course, we have an enhanced PA system here at the field, so now folks on the field are able to hear us, and we've had a lot of folks come down and wave at us. And for me, one of the highlights is always the ability to get down into the competition area with the camera and to be able to bring that to you and those shots to folks, which is something that even if you're on the field, you're still a little bit farther away.
And that's something Tom Rutherford and I, when we were here as field announcers, could never do, because we were here just talking about what we could see, and a lot of times we couldn't see the competition because it does take place a distance away. So again, that's an element that Balloon Fiesta Live brings to the Fiesta experience that never was here before.
And the other part of this is the fact that it is obviously a live show, but all of the shows are archived and make them available for folks to be able to see. We only showed the drone show at night. Those people who only tuned in the morning didn't see the drone show, but we recorded it. It's now available for you to be able to go back and watch. We just talked about the wheelchair. You could go back and watch the interview, see the pictures of the Kubitscheks that Ruth brought to us, to be able to see exactly how all of that comes together. So hopefully we've been able to bring all this together for you. We do thank you very much for watching, joining us here on the field. We do plan to be back next year, and so watch us and get really wrapped up for that. As we wrap up 2022, I would like you all both to join us in the Balloonist Prayer, which we do at the end of every series of shows.
Okay.
We're going to do it in the future and wishing folks
pre-flight
as we go through with that. So here we go.
May the winds welcome you with softness. May the sun bless you with its warm hands. May you fly so high and so well that God joins you after and set you gently back into the loving arms of Mother Earth.
Thank you, Ruth.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Ruth.
Glenn. Thank you. We'll see you next year.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
You've been watching Balloon Fiesta Live, powered by ExxonMobil. Want more balloon action? Visit the archive of all the Balloon Fiesta Live broadcasts at balloonfiesta.com. And make plans to join us in person for number 51, October 7th through the 15th, 2023. Thanks for watching Balloon Fiesta Live. This program is a production of AIBF Inc. balloon capital of the world. This is live coverage of the 50th anniversary edition of the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta, powered by ExxonMobil. Balloon Fiesta Live. And now, direct from the rooftop studio at Balloon Fiesta Park in Albuquerque, New Mexico, here are your hosts, Glenn Moyer and Art Lloyd Jr.
Good morning, live from Coronado Center this morning. Fiesta 50 years ago. I'm Art Lloyd Jr.